I never thought a simple Saturday could turn my world upside down. I was in the kitchen, humming to myself as I prepared lunch for Ethan and his childhood friend, Noah. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air, and everything felt ordinary. But deep down, I sensed something was about to shift. The door creaked open, and there he was. Noah stepped inside with that familiar smile, but something was different this time. His eyes held a depth that made my heartbeat quicken. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just my imagination. After all, he was Ethan's friend, and I was happily married. Yet, as he walked toward me, I felt a spark that I hadn't expected. "Hey, Elara." Noah greeted, his voice warm and inviting. "Smells amazing in here." "Thanks." "Just making some pasta," I replied, trying to sound casual. My hands trembled slightly as I stirred the sauce, stealing glances at him. The way his gaze lingered on me made my skin tingle. Ethan joined us just moments later, and the three of us settled into a comfortable rhythm of conversation. Noah shared stories of his travels, each tale more adventurous than the last. My laughter filled the room, but beneath the joy, I felt a growing tension. With every word he spoke, I found myself drawn to him in a way that felt both thrilling and wrong. "Remember that time we got lost hiking in the mountains?" Ethan asked, laughter bubbling in his voice. "Yeah. I thought we were going to die." Noah chuckled, shaking his head. I watched him, captivated by the way he animatedly recounted the story. His passion was infectious, and I couldn't help but lean in closer, hanging on his every word. As the afternoon wore on, I felt a shift within myself. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into the abyss below. What was happening to me? My heart raced, and a quiet voice in my head whispered that this attraction was something I should not ignore. But could I really do this? Could I really allow myself to feel this way about Noah, knowing that I had a husband who loved me? Noah caught my eye across the table, and for a brief moment, the world around us faded away. It was just the two of us, lost in a moment that felt electric. I could see the curiosity in his gaze, a silent question hanging in the air between us. Did he feel it too? I forced myself to look away, focusing instead on my plate. "Ethan, what do you want to do later?" I asked, trying to steer my mind away from the growing connection I felt with Noah. But my heart betrayed me, longing for something I knew I shouldn't want. "Maybe we can watch a movie?" I brought some snacks, Ethan suggested, oblivious to the tension simmering just beneath the surface. I nodded, but inside, a storm raged. My loyalty to Ethan battled fiercely with this newfound desire for Noah. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. I wanted to laugh, to cry, to scream. Why was it so hard to ignore the pull I felt towards Noah? The laughter and stories continued, but my mind was elsewhere, contemplating the path I was on. "Hey, Elara," Noah said softly, pulling me from my thoughts. "Do you remember that song we used to sing back in high school?" I smiled, but my heart pounded in my chest. "Yeah, I do." "It was ridiculous," I replied, trying to keep things light. But the truth was, every shared memory with him felt like a thread pulling us closer together. I couldn't shake the feeling that this day would change everything. With each passing moment, the lines between friendship and something more blurred, and I was left standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. Would I choose loyalty, or would I give in to the desire that threatened to consume me? In the days that followed that unforgettable Saturday, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Noah became a regular part of our lives, and with each passing moment, the connection I felt with him grew stronger. I could hardly believe how quickly things changed. It was as if the universe had conspired to throw us together, and I was losing the battle to resist. Every time Noah walked through our door, a thrill coursed through me. I tried to play it cool, but my heart raced as I caught glimpses of him. Whether it was his laughter ringing through the house or the way he effortlessly engaged in conversation with Ethan, I could feel that magnetic pull drawing me closer. One evening, as we sat around the dinner table, I noticed the way Noah's hand brushed against mine while reaching for the salt. A jolt of electricity shot up my arm, and I froze for a moment, my breath catching in my throat. I quickly pulled my hand away, pretending to focus on my meal, but my mind was racing. Did he feel it too? "So, Alara," Noah said, his voice breaking through my thoughts. "Have you thought about trying that new Italian restaurant downtown? I heard it's amazing." I forced a smile, though my heart was in turmoil. "I haven't, but I'd love to check it out. Maybe we could go this weekend?" My voice sounded casual, but inside, I was screaming at myself for suggesting it. "Count me in," Noah replied, his eyes lighting up. Ethan nodded in agreement, unaware of the tension brewing between Noah and me. "Great. It'll be fun," Ethan said, flashing a smile that made my heart ache even more. I wanted to scream out that I was betraying his trust, but the chemistry with Noah was undeniable. As the days went by, our interactions became filled with laughter, shared stories, and those accidental touches that sent shivers down my spine. I tried to suppress my growing feelings, but it was like trying to hold back a tidal wave. The more I fought it, the stronger it became. One afternoon, while preparing dinner in the kitchen, Noah stood beside me, chopping vegetables. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could hardly focus on the task at hand. I felt his presence like a warm glow beside me, and I couldn't help but steal glances at him. "Do you need help with anything?" he asked, his voice low and inviting. I shook my head, trying to act nonchalant. "No, I'm good. Just trying to make sure everything's perfect for dinner." "Perfect? With me around?" "That's a tall order," he joked, a playful grin on his face. I laughed, but it felt hollow. His smile, so genuine and warm, was making it impossible to ignore the way my heart fluttered at the sight of him. And then, it happened. Our hands brushed again while reaching for the same knife. A rush of emotions flooded through me: fear, excitement, guilt. I felt my cheeks heat up, and I quickly pulled my hand back. "Sorry," I stammered, avoiding his gaze. "No need to apologize," he said softly, his eyes locked onto mine. "It's just a touch." But it was more than just a touch. It was a spark that ignited something deep within me. I could feel the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble, and I was terrified. As the days slipped by, the moments we shared became more intense. I was torn between loyalty to Ethan and the undeniable desire for Noah. Every laugh we shared felt like a betrayal, and yet, I craved those moments more than anything. Late one night, after Ethan had gone to bed, I found myself sitting on the couch with Noah. The room was dimly lit, and the air was thick with unspoken words. "Do you ever think about the past?" Noah asked, breaking the silence. "Sometimes," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "Do you?" "Yeah, a lot," he said, his gaze drifting toward the window. "I think about how much we've both changed. It's like we're different people now." His words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. I wanted to reach out, to close the distance between us, but I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. "Yeah, we have," I finally said, my voice trembling. "But some things should stay in the past." "Maybe," he replied, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "But sometimes, the past has a way of catching up with us." In that moment, I realized how true his words were. I was standing at a crossroads, and the choices I made now would forever shape my future. The connection between Noah and me was growing, and I had to decide whether to embrace it or let it slip away. As I lay in bed that night, I tossed and turned, haunted by thoughts of Noah. The loyalty I felt toward Ethan warred with the desire that blossomed within me. I knew I had to confront my feelings, but I was terrified of the consequences. Would I choose the safe path or the one that called to my heart? The answer loomed over me like a dark cloud, waiting to burst. That evening, everything changed. The air was thick with tension as I sat on the couch with Noah, the dim light casting shadows around us. My heart raced, caught between the familiarity of our friendship and the thrill of something more. I could feel the pull, like gravity drawing me closer to him. "Do you ever wonder what could have been?" Noah asked suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was low, almost hesitant, as if he feared the answer. "What do you mean?" I replied, trying to sound casual, though my pulse quickened at the weight of his words. "You know, if things had been different between us. If we had met at a different time in our lives," he said, his gaze steady on mine. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Sometimes. But we can't go back. We have our lives now." "Right," he said, a hint of sadness in his tone. "But it's hard not to think about it." As I stared into his eyes, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble. I was aware of how close we were, our knees almost touching. The warmth radiating from him was intoxicating, and I could no longer ignore the desire that simmered beneath the surface. In a moment of weakness, I leaned closer, my breath hitching in my throat. "Noah," I started, but the words got stuck. I wanted to tell him to stop, to take a step back, but my heart was racing, urging me to move forward. Before I could think, I closed the distance and pressed my lips against his. The kiss was sudden and electric, a spark igniting a fire deep within me. For that brief moment, I forgot everything: Ethan, my loyalty, my fears. It was just Noah and me, enveloped in a rush of passion. But just as quickly as it began, the reality crashed back down. I pulled away, my heart pounding with exhilaration and guilt. "What did I just do?" I gasped, my hands trembling as I covered my mouth in shock. Noah looked at me, his expression a mix of surprise and longing. "Ilara, I can't believe I did that." I interrupted, panic rising in my chest. "What about Ethan? He trusts me." "I know," Noah replied, his voice soft but firm. "But you felt it too, didn't you? This connection between us?" "I shouldn't have kissed you," I said, my voice shaking. "It was a mistake." "A mistake?" He frowned, his brow furrowing in confusion. "It didn't feel like a mistake to me." I stood up, pacing the room, my thoughts racing. "You don't understand. Ethan is my husband. He loves me. I can't betray him like this." Noah rose to his feet, his eyes searching mine. "I'm not asking you to leave him, Ilara. I just want you to acknowledge what's happening between us." I shook my head, tears welling in my eyes. "I can't do this. I can't hurt Ethan. He's always been there for me." "Then why are you here, with me?" Noah's voice was gentle, but it cut through me like a knife. I paused, the weight of my choices crashing down on me. "I don't know," I whispered, feeling lost and overwhelmed. "I don't know what I want anymore." As silence enveloped us, the reality of what I had done settled heavily on my shoulders. Guilt began to claw at my insides, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of regret. I had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and now I was left to face the consequences. "I need to go," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I turned to leave, but Noah's hand caught my wrist gently. "Wait," he said, his eyes pleading. "Let's talk about this. We can figure it out together." I looked down at his hand on my wrist, my heart aching. I can't keep doing this to myself, to Ethan. I need time to think." With that, I pulled away and walked out of the room, each step heavier than the last. The kiss replayed in my mind like a haunting melody, and I felt the weight of my betrayal settling deep within me. I had crossed a line, and now I had to face the truth of my actions. As I lay in bed that night, the nightmares began to creep in. Images of Ethan's face, filled with confusion and heartbreak, haunted me. I felt suffocated by guilt, knowing I had put everything at risk. I was caught between loyalty and desire, and I knew I had to confront the reality of my choices before it was too late. The week had dragged on, each day heavier than the last. I felt trapped in a fog of guilt and confusion. I tried to act normal around Ethan, but every laugh, every smile felt like a betrayal. I couldn't shake the image of Noah's eyes, the warmth of his kiss, from my mind. I knew I was walking a tightrope, and if I slipped, everything would come crashing down. Then came that fateful afternoon. I was sitting on the couch, lost in my thoughts, when I heard the front door open. My heart raced as I glanced at the clock. Ethan was home early. Panic washed over me. What if he walked in on me and Noah? The thought made my stomach churn. I quickly looked around, but Noah was already there, leaning against the wall, a casual smile on his face that did nothing to calm my nerves. We had been laughing, sharing silly stories about our childhood, and for a moment, I forgot my worries. But now, reality loomed over us like a dark cloud. "Hey, you two!" Ethan called as he stepped into the living room. The cheerful tone in his voice faded when he saw us together. I felt my heart drop into my stomach. Ethan's smile faltered, and confusion washed over his face. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. The silence felt deafening, stretching on like an eternity. I could see the gears turning in Ethan's mind as he processed the scene before him. Noah stood up, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Ethan, it's not what it looks like." But Ethan's expression quickly shifted from confusion to heartbreak. "Not what it looks like." You two were laughing, sharing a moment I should have been a part of. His voice rose, filled with hurt. "Ethan, please, let me explain." I finally managed to say, my chest tightening with panic. "Explain what, Ilara? That you've been lying to me? That you've been here with him?" His words cut through me like a knife. The betrayal hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "No, it's not like that," I pleaded, stepping closer to him. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I was just what? Finding comfort in someone else?" Ethan interrupted, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Is that it? Am I not enough for you anymore?" I felt my heart shatter at the pain in his voice. "Ethan, I love you. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I never wanted to hurt you." He shook his head, disbelief etched across his face. "But you did. You kissed him, Ilara. You made a choice." Noah shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. "Ethan, I never wanted to come between you two. Stay out of this." Ethan snapped, his gaze narrowing on Noah. "This is between me and my wife." I could see the tension rising, the air thick with unspoken emotions. "Ethan, please," I begged, tears streaming down my cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I was confused. I let my feelings get the best of me. "Confused?" Ethan echoed, his voice low and shaking. "You kissed him, Ilara. That's not confusion, that's betrayal." The weight of his words crashed over me, and I felt like I was drowning in guilt. I had crossed a line I could never uncross, and now I had to face the consequences. "I know I messed up," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But please, can we talk about this? Can we try to understand what happened?" Ethan's expression softened momentarily, but hurt still lingered in his eyes. "What's there to understand? You broke my trust. How can I ever look at you the same way again?" I reached out, desperate for connection. "I'll do anything to make this right. I'll prove to you how much I love you. Just please don't give up on us." He stepped back, shaking his head as if to shake away my words. "I need time, Ilara. I can't think right now. You need to understand how much this hurts." As he stormed out of the room, I felt my world collapse around me. I was left standing there, the weight of my actions pressing down harder than ever. I had betrayed the man who loved me, and I was terrified of what that meant for our future. The truth had been exposed, and now I had to face the reality of the destruction I had caused. The week that followed that devastating confrontation felt like an endless cycle of regret. Each day, I woke up with a heavy heart, knowing I had shattered not only my marriage but also the friendship I had with Noah. The silence in our home was deafening. Ethan had pulled away emotionally, and I felt like I was living with a ghost of the man I once knew. I could see the pain in his eyes, the way he avoided my gaze. It hurt more than I could express. I tried to reach out, to say something, anything, but the words felt stuck in my throat. How could I explain the whirlwind of emotions that had led me to that moment? How could I ask for forgiveness when I knew I had betrayed the person who had always stood by me? One evening, I found myself sitting alone in the living room, staring blankly at the TV, which was on but completely ignored. I thought of Noah and the guilt that hung over me like a storm cloud. I picked up my phone, hesitating for a moment before dialing his number. "Hey, Alara," Noah answered, his voice warm yet cautious. "How are you holding up?" I let out a shaky breath. "Not great, to be honest. I'm really worried about Ethan." "I know," he replied softly. "I feel terrible about everything. I never wanted to hurt you or him." "I'm the one who hurt him," I said, my voice breaking. "I can't believe I let my feelings take control like that. It's like I betrayed everything we had." "Have you talked to him?" Noah asked gently. "No," I sighed. "Every time I try, he just shuts down. It's like he's built a wall around himself. I don't know how to break through." "Maybe he just needs time," Noah suggested, but his voice was filled with concern. "This is a lot for him to handle." "I get that," I said, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "But I can't just sit here and do nothing. I love him, Noah. I need to make things right." "Then you should talk to him," Noah urged. "Be honest about your feelings. It's the only way to start healing." I nodded, even though I knew it wouldn't be easy. "You're right. I need to face this head-on. I owe him that much." After we hung up, I took a deep breath and steeled myself for what lay ahead. The thought of confronting Ethan filled me with dread, but I knew I couldn't run from the truth any longer. I had to take responsibility for my actions. That night, I found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a half-empty glass of water. The silence between us was thick, almost suffocating. I took a step closer, my heart pounding. "Ethan," I started, my voice trembling. "Can we talk?" He looked up at me, his expression guarded. "What is there to talk about, Alara? You've made your choice." "I know I hurt you," I said, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I can't change what happened, but I want to explain. I want you to understand how deeply sorry I am." Ethan's eyes softened slightly, but he remained silent, waiting for me to continue. "I let my feelings confuse me," I confessed. "I didn't mean to betray you. I love you, Ethan. You are everything to me." His gaze dropped to the table, and I saw the pain etched on his face. "You kissed him, Alara. That's not just a mistake, it's a betrayal of trust." "I know," I whispered, feeling the weight of my words. "I can't take it back, but I want to prove to you that I can be better. I can earn your trust again." Ethan finally looked at me, his expression a mix of hurt and confusion. "How can I trust you again? This isn't something that just goes away." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes," I said, my voice steadying. "I'll fight for us, for our love. Just please don't give up on me." He sighed deeply, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "I need time, Alara. This is a lot for me to process." "I understand," I said, my heart aching. "I just hope you know how much I regret my actions. I never wanted to hurt you." As I watched him turn away, I felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I knew the road ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but I was ready to face them. I needed to confront my feelings and take responsibility for the pain I had caused. Even if it meant risking everything, I had to try to make things right. The days that followed our difficult conversation felt like a blend of hope and despair. I could sense that Ethan was still hurting, but there was a flicker of something else in his eyes, a hint that he was willing to listen, to try to understand what had happened between us. I knew this was my chance to reach out and show him that I was committed to making things right. One evening, I gathered all my courage and approached him again. He sat on the couch, his gaze lost in thought. "Ethan," I said softly, taking a seat beside him. "Can we talk some more?" He looked at me, his expression guarded but curious. "What do you want to say, Alara?" "I want to share what I've been feeling," I began, my heart racing. "I know I hurt you deeply, and I can't change that. But I need you to understand why I acted the way I did." I was confused and scared. I let my emotions take control. Ethan turned his head slightly, his eyes searching mine. "You kissed him, Alara. That's not just confusion. That's a choice." "I know," I whispered, feeling tears well up again. "It was a moment of weakness, and I regret it every single day. But I love you, Ethan. You are the one I want to be with. I want to fight for us." He sighed, leaning back against the couch. "How do I know you won't hurt me again? Trust is not easily rebuilt." I nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I know it won't be easy, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I promise to show you through my actions that I am committed to you. I will work every day to earn back your trust." Ethan remained silent, but I could see the conflict in his eyes. "What if I can't forgive you?" he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then I will have to accept that," I replied, my heart aching at the thought. "But I won't give up without a fight. You mean too much to me." He looked away, and I could tell he was wrestling with his emotions. "I feel so lost," he admitted. "I don't know how to move forward." "Maybe we can take small steps together," I suggested, hoping to spark a glimmer of hope. "We can talk more, share our feelings, and see where it leads us. I want to understand your pain, to be there for you." Ethan turned back to me, his expression softening just a bit. "And what if I still need time?" "Then I will give you all the time you need," I promised. "I just hope you know how serious I am about this. You are my priority, and I want to make things right." He took a deep breath, and for a moment, the tension in the room eased. "Maybe we can try," he said slowly, and my heart lifted at his words. "But it will take time. I need to process this." "Of course," I replied, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. "I'm here whenever you're ready to talk." "I'll be patient, Ethan." As the days went by, we began to have more conversations, each one filled with honesty and vulnerability. I shared my fears, my regrets, and my unwavering love for him. Ethan opened up about his hurt and confusion, and I listened intently, my heart breaking for the pain I had caused him. One night, as we sat on the porch under the stars, I reached for his hand. "Do you think we can find our way back to each other?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He squeezed my hand, a small smile breaking through the sadness. "I want to believe we can. But it will take time and effort from both of us." "I'm ready for that," I assured him. "I want to be the partner you deserve." With that simple promise, our journey toward healing began. It was not an easy path, but with each honest conversation, I felt the bond between us slowly starting to mend. I learned that true love is not just about passion, it's about having the courage to face our flaws and work together toward forgiveness. In that moment, under the vast night sky, I realized that while the road ahead would be challenging, I was no longer alone. Ethan and I were taking that first step together, and it felt like a new beginning. Share this story if you believe that love can overcome even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when open communication helped heal a relationship in your life, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories like this one.